What is a cash out refinance, and what are some of the pros and cons about the refinance? So many questions have been come up about this lately simply because of inflation, the recession that's taking place in the economy, and how do you get your home equity so that way you can feel a little more secure. Make sure you stay to the very end of this video. I'm going to give you 3 pros and 3 cons all about cash out refinancing so you can make the best decision for you and your family. And if we haven't met before, my name is Seanu Uyehara. I'm a branch manager with Loan Depot, helping you get your mortgage right. Whether you're buying your first home, a second home, or you're looking to build your real estate portfolio, I've got you covered. Make sure to check the links in my description below for more information on how to get your mortgage right. And if you're thinking about purchasing or refinancing anywhere in the country, we can help you. I created this channel to help you understand the ins and outs of the mortgage industry. And if you ever need a second opinion, you can always send me an email and I'd be happy to look at it to make sure, again, you get your mortgage right. Now, we're talking about refinancing today. This has come up a lot more these days simply because the financial situation that a lot of us are facing with inflation and the recession that's going on, things are getting tougher for a lot of people. Things are more expensive. We're not making as much money. A lot of people are getting furloughed, or potentially you've gotten laid off. You own a home, you have equity, but what do you do with it? How do you tap into it? So I wanted to shoot this video to really break down some pros and cons about a cash out refinance, because you need to make the right decision, especially if you're sitting on tens of thousands, if not maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity in your home. So let's look at some of the pros first. One of the pros of a cash out refinance is the stability and the predictability of the mortgage. So when you do a cash out refinance, you are essentially tapping into the home equity of your property. And once you receive the funds at closing, you can essentially do whatever you want with the money. Now, let's just take a simple example, and let's just say you owe $100,000 on your mortgage and your house is worth $300,000. This is a common example for a lot of you out there where you're sitting on a ton of equity. Now, what a cash out refinance is essentially, you're going to tap into a portion of that $200,000 and you're going to be able to access those funds given you can qualify for the new mortgage. Now, the thing to take into account is that typically when you are taking on more mortgage, your house payment is going to increase as well. Now, this isn't always the case, because it truly depends on what your current mortgage is at the time. Now, you may have had a loan, you've been sitting on that mortgage for maybe 10 years. Your interest rate could be 7%. Maybe you refied at some point and your credit back in the day was just terrible. There's a lot of moving factors that go into a refinance, and it's not just cut and dry as to here's the refi, take it or leave it. There's a lot of things that I essentially look at when I look at a refinance and we do an analysis for someone, because there's a lot of questions that need to be answered as to where you were and where are you going. So when you look at the cash out refinance, like I mentioned, the first pro that it is giving you some stability. The trade-off to the refinance is a home equity line of credit, which typically carries a variable interest rate. And some of you hear the word variable and you freak out because you immediately go back to the 2008 crash and all these adjustable mortgages that were out there, and you don't like that. So if that's you and you're more risk averse, go look at the cash out refinance. And that's why, in my opinion, the stability of it is good, because you get a fixed rate mortgage. You know what the payment's going to be. You don't have to think about it, and it gives you that peace of mind. The second pro is that there's typically higher cash out amounts that you can receive. Again, I'm going to compare this to a home equity line of credit, where typically there is a maximum that the bank will lend you on a HELOC. When I got a HELOC on one of my properties sometime last year, as some of you know my story, I've got a home that has a few $100,000. I wanted to pull some of that money out to go buy other rental property. Now, when I shopped around for a lender, I wanted to see what was the highest LTV or the highest loan to value that I could get. Most of the banks, I've even found a couple of credit unions that were willing to go past 90%. However, there was a cap on how much money that they were willing to lend me. Most banks were not willing to go past about $100,000 on a HELOC. That was a drawback for me because I wanted to tap more of the equity so I could go buy more houses. On a cash out refinance, there is no limit as long as you meet the loan to value requirements, which is typically about 80% if it's your primary residence. If you are looking at cashing out money on an investment property, that number is going to be a little lower. It may even be as low as 70% in some situations. So that's where, again, just because you have, in our scenario, $200,000 of home equity, that doesn't mean you can tap the full $200,000. In our case, again, we owe 100. The house is worth 3, so that $200,000 is the equity. Now, let's just say we could take 80%. The 80% is based off of the appraised value of the home. So if it's worth $300,000, 80% of that would be $240,000, and then we're going to subtract out what we currently owe on the home. So there's really about $140,000 of home equity that I could tap into if this was my house. Trade-off, conversely, the HELOC, like I mentioned, may cap you at maybe $100,000, maybe less than that. It really depends on the bank. So another pro for the cash out refinance is the amount that you can get. In our case, we could probably pull $140,000 out. The third pro is you can use the funds for whatever you want. If you literally wanted to just go crazy and go buy your dream car, you could do that. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but if you really wanted to, you certainly could. More often than not, a lot of our clients come to us for a cash out refinance. We're looking at paying off credit card debt. You're looking at making home improvements. You're looking at buying other rental properties, starting a business, starting your kids' college fund. There is no limit to what you can do with those funds, because once we close on the refinance and you get that wire or you ask for a check, a certified cashier's check, you can do whatever you want with the money. No one's going to check on you. It's literally, here you go, have fun. But you always want to make sure that you're doing the right thing, simply because if you're taking out equity of your home, you're increasing your loan balance. Chances are your monthly payment is going to go up as well. So if you're not being prudent with your money and you have a good plan in place, you're taking on more debt for no reason, which now puts you in a bad spot. So that's why I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you need to make sure that you have a solid plan and you're being very cautious about how you utilize that equity, because the last thing you'd want to do is blow it on something, and now you're in a position that a lot of people faced back in 2008. You owe a ton of money on your house, and let's just say values continue to drop, and now maybe you're upside down, work gets a little tough, maybe you get furloughed, maybe you get laid off, and now you're in a position where you don't have the equity to protect you. You're in a position to either short sell or foreclose on your home. So it can be a downward spiral that can go really fast. And if you're still watching this video, make sure to drop in the comments below to let me know you're still watching, and drop the word equity. Drop the word equity, EQUITY, because you own a home and you've got a lot of money you're sitting on, and you're going to learn what's the best way to manage that. And if you're looking for a cash out refi, remember, I can certainly give you a second estimate, or we can provide one to you. Just drop me an email below and I'd be happy to connect with you offline so I can get the specific details so we don't have to share that with the rest of the world. Back to our video. I'm going to go over the 3 cons now. The first con is a cash out refi typically takes about 30 days or so to close. It really depends on the lender and how busy they are. If you go back a few years during the refi boom when rates were in the 2s and 3s, there were lenders out there that were taking 3, 4, 5 months to close on a refinance. Now, given it was because of the environment that we're in and rates were really low and every lender was busy, but they were taking really long to get those done. Home equity line of credits can usually be done within a week or less. In fact, Loan Depot will be rolling out a home equity line of credit product here in the next couple of months. So if you're interested in this will be the industry's first all digital HELOC. We're super proud of this product and we can't wait to roll it out to the masses, because this is going to be a huge time saver for a lot of you, because you want to tap into your home equity and you want it quick. We're going to be able to get these done in less than a week. So if this is something that interests you, you can also send me an email on that and I will add you to our wait list. So that way, once the program rolls out, we can let you know and we can help you get your home equity into your pocket. But like I mentioned, the amount of time that it takes to typically close a refinance is about 30 days. If you're in a pinch, you need your money, a cash out refi may not be the best way to go about it. Some lenders can get it done a little quicker, but if you need to budget time, budget about 30 days to get it done. The second con on a cash out refinance is that you have instant payments. And what do I mean by that? Again, if we were to compare a home equity line of credit to this cash out refinance, a home equity line of credit is like a credit card against your home. So if you were to get, let's just say, an American Express card and your limit's $50,000, you're not making any payments whatsoever on the credit card because there's no balance on it whatsoever. However, if I go out today and let's just say I go and buy a few pairs of shoes, I go buy some clothes, buy my girlfriend a bag, now I've got to make payments on whatever I charged up, similar to the HELOC. I talked to a client the other day. He was looking to renovate his kitchen. And same thing. He estimates that his kitchen is going to cost him about 30 grand. Now, if he took out a home equity line of credit, he may have to pay the general contractor today a few $1,000s to get permits and start the estimates and get everything going. Then he's going to pay maybe another 5 or 10 grand for the granite or whatever else he wants to put cabinets into the kitchen. And then maybe the remaining balance once the project's completely done. So he's going to make payments based on whenever he draws against the HELOC. Again, on a cash out refinance, if we were to refinance your home, and let's just say in our scenario that we talked about earlier, that you tapped into $140,000, now your new loan balance went from $100,000 to $240,000. You're now making payments on $240,000 from the jump. So that's why you have to be very cognizant about what are you using the money for. In most cases, like I mentioned, the payment is going to increase because you're taking out more money on your home. That's not always the case, but in most cases, that is what happens. So if you go and blow your money, and now let's say your mortgage went up $600-$700 a month, it's going to put you in a tight spot. That's why the HELOC gives you more flexibility, which in my opinion is a con for the cash out refinance. And last but not least, the repayment period is typically longer on a cash out refinance. So let's compare the two. On a HELOC, you can typically draw against your home equity line of credit for typically it's about 10 years. At least the last few home equity line of credit products that I had gotten on my own property was 10 years. So I can draw on it, pay it down, charge it up, pay it down for 10 years. Whatever I owe at the end of that 10-year period is now fixed. So if I had $15,000 left on my home equity line of credit, I can no longer charge against it. I have to start making payments on that $15,000 until I pay it off. On a cash out refinance in our same scenario, again, I now have to pay back $240,000 on my mortgage, and the most traditional mortgage, which most people look for, is a 30-year fixed rate. So if I've been, let's just say, living in my home, let's just call it 10 years. So I have 20 years left on my mortgage, and I go and refinance back into a 30-year mortgage. I am now starting my mortgage from day one all over again. Now you can go to your lender and ask them for options. And like you folks know, I always talk about this. Strategy is more important than rate. So let's just say in our scenario, you've been living in your house for 10 years. Instead of refinancing on a 30-year mortgage, you can certainly refinance on a 20-year mortgage. Now the payment on a 30-year will be cheaper because you're extending it another 10 years. So that's also something you need to be aware of. And again, look at those options. Make sure your lender is showing those to you so you can decide what's best for you. Now, the HELOC, again, there's more flexibility. And for some of you that are business owners or you're self-employed, you like that flexibility because you might have a good month where maybe you made an extra $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 and you could pay off the home equity line of credit. And now you can use it again for something else. I like that option a lot better. However, for some of you that maybe you don't have the ability to pay it down that quickly, you can obviously look at the cash out refi, which again gives you more stability. So it really depends on your overall situation. No two clients are alike. No two loans are alike because there's always a different motivation, a different reason, and a different goal for why we are doing the refinance. And this is why, again, You should always have a couple of options to look at, and make sure you're talking strategy with your loan officer and not just getting fixed on the interest rate, because any loan officer out there can quote you a low rate. They're just going to charge you a ton of money for it. If you ever need a second opinion, make sure to send me an email and we can chat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.